Chef Tommy was talking about analysis paralysis at one point, and I'd never heard that phrase before. And talking about how being afraid to make a decision means you don't make any decisions. And we were at that point.
Albert Granda here. I'm talking with Jason Cipriani of Sips and Pies, who recently acquired a pizza trailer from Firewithin, went through wood fired in university. Um, Jason, tell me a little bit about your pizza journey, how you got started, how you got interested in it.
Yeah, so I think pizza has probably been a lifelong passion and interest, right? I mean, I grew up, I can remember being a little kid going, and my dad was a manager at various pizza chains, and specifically spending a spring break with him in the back of a Pizza Hut, helping make dough with all those
Yep.
guys and cleaning their conveyor ovens and whatnot. And so pizza's always been something of from that has meant something to me, but also it's just I've enjoyed eating it over the years, right? It's always been my
Yeah.
number one go-to. We go to a new town, new state, wherever we travel, we
Sure.
look up pizza, right? That's always the number one thing we look up.
Yep.
So in the back of my mind, all these years, I'm 42 now, growing up and getting older, I've always wanted to do some sort of pizza restaurant slash brewery, brew pub, whatever, have really good craft beer or whatnot on tap. But having been in the restaurant business earlier when I was younger, I knew that once that happened, once you did that, you're married then to a brick and mortar restaurant. You're married to the staffing and the hours and the building, and that becomes your life. It takes over. And so it was always a pipe dream to do something with pizza and whatnot. But a couple years ago. So for the last 15 years, I've been a technology journalist. I've a freelance technology journalist. I've reviewed
Okay.
products, and once in a while, I would review like home kitchen gadgets. And I had been making pizza with an Uni oven, the Coda 16 actually, for a
Yep.
few years.
Yep.
And I was approached by Men's Health, of all places, to review the Uni Volt, the electric pizza oven inside the
Familiar
little
with it
12-inch
well.
oven.
I've done actually done reviews of that as well.
And it's a great oven. And so after I got done reviewing it, I was like, this is easy and streamlined enough. Why don't we start a pizza truck with a few of these? And it was just a random sentence came out of my mouth at dinner one night, and I couldn't kick it. I just it sounded great. We have the freedom. We're not married to it. We can set up and don't set up when we want. And that was about 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago now. And so I had said that to my wife, and the journey kind of just slowly built and snowballed from there. I realized quickly how much power I would have to produce to run two or three of those
That's
volts
right. No,
full
that's
blast at
right.
all times. I mean, they're 1500 watts. That's a lot. That's a big generator.
Yep.
And so then it went to, all right, well, what are people doing with Unis? Are they doing outdoor pizza setups, or what about Gozney? And so I started using Gozney ovens and reviewing Gozney ovens. I reviewed several Uni ovens. Now my back patio was nothing but Uni and Gozney ovens.
Wow. Wow.
We've tested quite a bit, and for the longest time, we were dead set on using some Gozney ovens in our setup. And then last year, we got to a point, my wife and I were like, okay, if this is really going to be feasible, we need to figure out the financial aspect of it, and we need to learn a lot more. And
Sure.
so I saw that the Pizza Expo was coming up in Vegas, and I saw that Siler Chapman had his mobile pizzeria class the day
Wonderful
before.
guy. Yep. Love the
Yep,
guy.
and so I booked it, and my wife and I agreed I was going to go. I would come back with this wealth of knowledge, and it was a make or break trip. Either I was going to come back and yes, we're going to really do this, or this is fun. We'll just make really good pizza at home and enjoy it because we have been enjoying it anyways, right? And
Sure.
and so I went to Siler's class. I learned more than I ever thought I would in a 4 hour class, and then spent the next 2 or 3 days roaming around the floor, talking to other people. I took one of Tony's classes on making dough and all the different styles, and did all that stuff. And
Yep.
came back, and we sat down, and my wife and I had many conversations over a couple days. And at the end of it, we said, let's do it. And so since end of Expo last year, it's kind of been full force into making this happen. And I'm gonna skip a little bit, but we're just weeks away from opening now with the
Okay.
concessionaire oven from Fire Within. I actually didn't buy it from Fire Within. I bought it used from someone here in Colorado still who had
Yeah.
bought it and let it sit in their parking lot because they have a concert venue and they were making pizzas out of it. So they literally bought it and picked it up from Ojith, drove it to their parking lot, and never moved it again. And so it was
Wow.
in great shape, no abuse of going down the
Yep.
road, pretty
Yep.
much brand new. Got a great deal on it, and so yeah, we're just a few weeks away, hopefully, from opening up and starting to
Okay.
get going. After Expo, actually, is when we'll
Sh-
open.
Okay, good luck on that. I mean, you bring up some really interesting points. I mean, I just want to add, I run into a lot of people that make pizza. They make great pizza, and
Sure.
then they think, oh man, let me just open a pizza place. Well, hello. You know, if you
Yeah,
don't know how to run a business, man, it doesn't matter how good your pizza is. It doesn't matter. You know, you're gonna fail. You know, it's
absolutely.
that
Yeah.
business aspect which is really so important. And also, I think the mobile pizza business is a great way to get started making pizza, and you know that's fantastic. Also, Siler Chapman, you know, one of the world pizza champions, wonderful guy, great way
Yeah.
to, you know, great introduction to learn from him. And you went to Wood-Fired University.
Yeah. So after Expo, I got in touch with a Grande cheese rep here in Colorado and met with him and was going over kind of the vision and the idea and was like, hey, we're going full force now. And he said, you might want to check into Woodfire University. They're up in Denver. They do a class, every quarter.
Yep,
And so at the end of July, I ended up there. And at this point in time, and Ajith knows this, the whole team there knows this, I went there with the intention of not using a wood fire oven at all. I was still set on Gozney, something propane powered, something that was
yep,
easier to manage, and in my mind, more consistent. And I just did not want to manage a fire while also making pizza and doing everything else that goes
sure.
into running it. And so I went up there to just learn about more of running a mobile pizzeria. What's it
Yep,
like? An
yep,
extension of Siler's class, if you will. And I think it was on like day 3 of actually managing the fire, making pizzas. I thought, you know what, this is the answer to everything that my wife and I have been running into. More specifically, the health and fire department here was really giving us a hard time with using Ooni and Gozney ovens. They're very
okay,
strict specifications because they're not commercial ovens, right? They don't
yep,
have commercial
absolutely.
certification. They're
Good
meant
point.
for home use. There's other places in Colorado. There's Outside Pizza, for example, in Denver. They use Gozney ovens in their Shasta camper, and they've made it work for them with the health and fire department up there. And down here, there were similar restrictions, but we couldn't get them on the same page.
Yep,
And I don't need to go into all those details, but we were trying to figure it all out and what it would look like. And so during the class at Fire Within, Chef Tommy was talking about analysis paralysis at one point, and I'd never heard that phrase before. And in talking about how being afraid to make a decision means you don't make any decisions, and we were at that point. We had to make some decisions, and I was too afraid to let go of the original vision of Gozney or Uni and move on to something else. But within a week of going to WordFire University, where I learned a ton about running a mobile place. I mean, the last day of the class, you literally, with a team, set up and run a mobile catering event to people on this campus all by yourselves.
yep.
Um, within a week of coming back from that class, we had finalized the name, we had picked out a logo, and we'd made an offer on a trailer. I mean, it was that fast, and
Wow,
things
wow.
kind of snowballed from there afterwards. So yeah, we were excited once we got everything going.
Okay, that's fantastic. And I mean, it says a lot about Wood-Fired University. I mean, they really pack a lot into those 3 days. And you start with an introduction, really knowing nothing. And by
Yeah,
the end, you're doing a catering event. So there's a lot of content, a lot of hands-on stuff.
a lot of
And
hands-on
I would
stuff.
think you made some relationships when you took the class. You made
Yeah,
some
absolutely.
good
There's
friends.
still some people who have purchased their trailers and took delivery since the class who are now up and running throughout the country. I think you had Michael on here a few months ago, and I've
That's
been
right.
following him in LA, and he's killing it. He's where I wish we were at the same time, right? Like I wish we were already set up and going,
Yep,
and he
yep.
he hit the ground running. So I'm happy for him.
Yeah, he did. He certainly did. I'm good shout out to him. He's doing really well. He's doing some events. He's making some great pizza.
Yeah.
and that's fantastic. What kind of pizzas are you making out of your wood-fired trailer?
Yeah, so we're gonna do just Neapolitan style inspired, not classic Neapolitan style. That's a little too much for us to take on, I think. But we're going to take a somewhat traditional approach, but we're going to mix it up and do some crazy specials. Have a Brussels sprout pizza or pickle pizza seems to be popular, or at least it was, a few months ago, and
Yeah,
and
yeah,
have a little bit of fun with it. I think that's the main thing we want to do. 90-second, 120-second pizza, sure, real fluffy crust, crunchy crust, but we want to be fun with the toppings. We want to have the core cheese, pepperoni, sausage,
sure,
right?
sure.
Everybody has those. But then
Yeah,
once we get past that, we want to experiment and have a little bit of fun with it.
yeah, that sounds fun. Pizza is a universal fun thing. I mean, I think, just
Yeah.
who doesn't like pizza? I mean, we all do. We all
I
love
know a few
pizza.
people, but I just
Yeah,
look at them a little
yeah.
weird.
Well, more power to them, as they say. Well, that's great. And do you have a location picked out
So
for
we have a few spots around town here to set up, yeah, but we haven't really wanted to reach out because you have to go through that whole contract thing. The health
Yep,
department makes us have
yep,
agreements,
yep.
and until we have the sign off from the health department, we didn't want to approach anyone. So,
Sure.
no, we've been eyeing some spots. We've talked to other food truck vendors here in town that have been setting up to get an idea of what that looks like. But no, nothing in concrete yet.
At
We're
this point.
again waiting for
Yeah.
that sign off.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you mentioned you bought a used unit,
Yeah.
kind of third party, but it was manufactured by the Fire Within. I think that certainly says a lot about Ajit and the company. They're willing to say, "Yeah, I didn't buy it from us, but welcome, welcome to
Yeah,
welcome to the family.
yeah,
We're going to
absolutely.
support you. We're going to be with you. We're going to help you." I think that says a lot. I mean, that's a way to run a business, I think, to be that kind of involved.
I agree with you 100%. So what we did is the day we bought it, we went and picked it up and we didn't bring it home. We drove it straight to Aja's factory in Colorado and we dropped it off with him. And we said, go through the entire thing. And he was
Oh,
willing to do it. We
yep,
arranged this beforehand. Go through the entire thing. We want to change the stucco. Any issues you find, we want fixed. We
yep,
basically refurbished the entire trailer.
yep,
And so he held on to it. I think it took 2 to 3 weeks.
yep,
There was problems with the water pump because it was never used, so it was frozen. There's little things like that. There's some
yep,
cracks in the stucco.
yep,
We changed the color on it, and then we went and picked it up a few weeks later. And the entire process, he walked us through step by step what was going on and what needed to be done, and offering advice and whatnot about it. Yeah, like you said, it was great for him to be so open to essentially, like you said, a third party sale and then bringing it back into the Fire Within family.
yeah. No, that's fantastic. Let me ask you this. Give me two or three takeaways from Wood Fired University, if you could. What were like some real lessons that kind of stuck with you?
Yeah, I think the biggest is, and the first day when they were going over like the dance and the romanticism of managing a fire while also baking pizza. At points I was like kind of rolling my eyes, like, oh come on, like this, you're talking it up, but this is all marketing stuff. And it wasn't until a couple weeks after we got the oven home, we did a private preview event over a weekend, 2 day event. And on first day we invited family. On the second day we invited nothing but social media followers to come and try pizza,
Oh, cool.
so we could get feedback. And we did anonymous feedback form,
Sure.
to see what
So
was going
ki
on.
kind
And
of a soft opening then,
yeah,
right?
in a
An
way,
opening
right? We didn't
before your
charge
big.
anyone, come here for free,
Yeah.
but please give us honest feedback. And we got some great feedback from that. But it wasn't until like hour two of that first day of turning pizzas, and I was managing fire and turning pizzas, and my wife was making pizzas, and the kids were taking orders, and I finally understood what they truly meant about the fire and managing that and actually baking the pizzas. It was yeah, so that was a huge takeaway afterwards, but it took a little while for that one to sink in, right?
Yeah.
And another one would be like I mentioned earlier when Chef Tommy mentioned analysis paralysis and just not being afraid to make a decision and go forward with it. And, at the end of the day, even though trailers and other aspects of any restaurant or pizzeria are huge financial decisions, they can always be changed, right? You're not
That's
set in
true.
stone.
You can always
Um,
pivot. Yeah, that's
you can
right.
you can always change it. And there's a lot of ideas I still have with Ooni and Gozney that we could still pivot to in
Sure.
certain circumstances. So just being okay with making a decision and going forward, I would say. But then the bigger thing was, what the heck goes into setting up one of these trailers with the tent and all the equipment and actually doing it. So that last day where we did the catering for staff that work on this campus in the various buildings, and that we didn't do 100% of it, right? There was some prep work that was done
Sure.
beforehand by
No,
the Firewithin staff, but it was 90% us and strangers. I was doing it with people I don't know
sure.
how to work with and people I don't know how they work. We don't know how to communicate yet. It was the worst case scenario of setting up one of their trailers you'll ever have.
Yep.
Right? And that's what I told the team because we were trying to get frustrated with each other. I was like, whoa, this is the worst this is ever going to be because we're going to go
Absolutely.
home
No,
with our own trailers, our own people. We're going to have communication. Let's just make this work. And we did. And we
absolutely.
made a lot of pizzas that day.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. And again, I will remind you, I have I'm a homemade pizza guy. I'm not a commercial guy, but I have a
Sure.
rule of pizza, and I call it Grande's pizza postulate. And when making pizza, all mistakes are inevitable. You're going
Right?
to make some mistakes, whatever, and the next time it's going to get better and better. So,
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
tell me a little bit about what you thought about Pizza Expo, if you could.
So the first day was Siler's class, and then after that, I think the show floor was closed. And so the first day was just soaking in so much. I mean, there was 4 hours of information him and his
Yep.
wife went
Yep.
through, and then shortly after that, there was a packet of information he sent out. I mean, he literally shared the Excel spreadsheet he uses for financials for King of Fire for his entire
Yep.
business.
Yep.
I mean, he obviously removed his own financials, but it is the same Excel spreadsheet. So going through that. So that first day was overwhelming, but the second day, I remember walking into the show floor and just looking around, and there's these giant tubs of tomato sauce and pizza everywhere, and I'm like, this is the weirdest thing I have ever been to. Right?
Yeah.
I've been to like the Consumer Electronics Show. I've been to
Sure.
all these other, and that stuff's weird, but it just was different. But at like the second or third hour, I was like, oh, I get it now, and I these are my people, and so
They,
the more.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the longer I was there, and the more I was around everyone, and we did like the Slice of Hunger tailgate party right
Yep.
outside of Pizza Rock, and the longer I and the more I enveloped myself in all the surroundings, the more I felt at home and just started to learn, right? And just
Right.
sitting and listening to the free seminars and taking notes and just soaking in what everyone was saying. Mind you, I had no idea if I was even going to open a pizzeria, right? And
Yep.
so at that point,
Sure.
and so just listening to all different aspects and takes because everyone is different. Everyone has different ways of accomplishing something,
Absolutely.
and it was just fascinating to just be a sponge. And on top of that, the networking possibilities, right? Meeting Grande Cheese, which everywhere I went, everyone said you have to use Grande Cheese. You have, and I had never heard of them, so
Yep.
last day of the event, I think it was the last booth I went to. I walked in, found the first rep I could, and I said, everywhere I've gone this weekend or this week, I've heard I need to talk to you guys. And eventually I came home, and that conversation led to a conversation at home in Colorado, which led me to Fire Within, which led me to my trailer. Like, it just snowballed. So I
What a
think,
path.
yeah, the networking possibilities there are
Yeah.
just fascinating. And I'm beyond excited to go this year as well, just here in a couple of weeks. My wife's going this year, so she'll have a different perspective, a different understanding from where,
Sure.
I was last year. And my perspective going into it this year is totally different as well.
Yep. Yep. Well, Jason, thank you so much. I'm going to wish you a lot of luck in your opening, and it's going to be
Thank you.
happening soon. Tell us how people can find you and reach you. Um, I know you have a website up.
Yep.
You've got a Facebook presence. Where can people find you?
Yeah,
Tips
easiest
and
way is just to
pies.
go to sipsandpies.com, sipsandpies.com. And that right now just is a landing page, but it links you out to our Facebook and to our Instagram. Instagram is probably the best way to follow us.
Okay.
Same Sips and Pies. That's where information usually goes first, and
Sure.
then it ends up on Facebook shortly
Sure.
after. But that's the simplest way.
Okay, that sounds fantastic. I'll put all links below this video. Hey, Jace,
Appreciate it,
thank you so
Robert.
much for spending a little bit of time with me.
Yeah, no
And
problem. Thank you.
we wish you all the best in the world.
I
Pizza on
appreciate it.
Earth. Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks.